Warriors, EnnuiGoblin here once again bringing to you the latest in War action. Here we are now moving on into the risky business 2v2 semifinals between teams GD and Team Beer Powered. I'm particularly excited about this match. It's going to get us a chance to showcase some players that we haven't seen on this channel just quite yet. Moving in first, let's take a look at our teams here. Team GD picking up 2 points against us. Not an easy group here. Playing against Team Germany USA, ranked at 8th. Team Germany USA also picking up a point against Givadzi. But GD coming out of the group as the overall victor. GD, of course, is ranked tied for the first rank on the standard 2v2 ladder. They're tied with Team Z5. I think it's like at 1752. Both teams are at that ranking right now, so it's really very close between those two. But GD is one of the highest performing 2v2 teams out there. Of course, their opponent will also be Team Beer Powered. Beer Powered picking up also 2 points, and also another difficult group, particularly their opponent, Victoria's Secret. Team Beer Powered currently ranked 30th on the ladder, right above Victoria's Secret. There's only a 5-point difference between the two on the 2v2 ladder. So to come into the tournament and pick up a big win for the advancement past the round of 12 against a team that's only a rank beneath you, that's not necessarily an easy proposition. So Beer Powered really working hard to get to this top slot, but I think this is absolutely going to be their most difficult matchup. Let's take a look at our players overall. So Gout is the moderator of the chat. Many of you know him. Just taking a look at his tournament record, rated right now at number 6 on the championship ladder, and he hasn't won a title yet, but what he has been able to do is consistently pull high up onto the rounds. He's showing that, take a look, 4th place in Championship July, 4th place February 2016, 4th place October, consistently making it to the round of 8. So he's showing he's the kind of player he can consistently get to the semifinals, the quarterfinals, just hasn't really found the sequence or the right circumstances to push through to that final first place victory. But it's certainly feasible in the future. His partner also DeGrudge, another higher profile player, coming in at number 33 on the championship ladder. He also has not yet obtained a championship title, but made it to the round of 16 and the round of 32 in a number of tournaments. But what these two players lack in solo achievements, they more than make up to as the 2v2. I've personally, from what I've seen and from what others might tell you, GD, if not the best 2v2 team, certainly the most competitive considering their record. Both of them taking first place in Skywatch 2v2, first place in the Sneaky Snakes tournament, and then 4th place in Karina Nebula. This is a team to watch out for, particularly as we move on into the Zero Gravity tournament. Expect them to be big players in the upcoming 2v2 sequences. And of course, the players on their opponent's team, Beer Powered, Exploit's been able, also has a fair level of success, coming in at 165th on the championship ladder, pulling a highest rank of 69. His tournaments, making it to the round of 32 twice, and is not necessarily an easy feat, but and then looking at, of course, his partner, Bronco76. Bronco76, a player who's he's done quite well for himself, coming in at 13th on the championship ladder, so knocking at the door of the top 10. Also pulling round of 8 and Quicksand and into the championship July. So coming to those quarterfinals, if you can come into the quarterfinals on the standard monthly tournament, you are somebody to watch out for. And of course, the team Beer Power themselves, this is another very successful team. Coming in at 4th at the Raid and Rescue 2v2, coming in on the round of 12 at the Fearless and Not Alone, and currently playing in the round of 12 at the Nausicaa Belt, looking to advance past the round of 12 into the semifinals, so we could see them in the next round of tournaments. We don't know. For this matchup, though, I'd say that GD is the slight favored, but it's anybody's. This is the type of game where, I mean, at this level, it really is anybody's game, but I think Beer Powered are going to have to really be on their guard to make sure any mistake that Beer Powered makes, Team GD is going to capitalize on it almost instantly. So they are, I'd say that Beer Powered has more pressure not to make mistakes, but Team GD, it's not a victory that's just going to be handed to them. So I'm very interested to see how it progresses out. Taking a moment to analyze the map from the perspective of the new matchup. This is going to be Team GD going to be playing as the Titan and Krallian matchup, and also we're going to have Team Beer Powered playing as the Titan Krallian matchup. So I think the fact that these players are going to have a Krallian player involved makes the decision of who gets the larger share of the bases a lot more important. In the New Earth Titan game, both teams it was a Sapien and Titan versus a Sapien, and when you have those kind of matchups, I feel that particularly for the Sapien team, but also for the Titan Sapien team, that picking out who gets the larger share of the bases doesn't play quite as big a key role as it is for the Krallians, and I mean for these teams with the Krallian players. And when I say that, I mean it really kind of is going to dictate the pace of your strategy depending on who. If you go for the Sapiens having more bases over the Krallians, then you're going to expect to be able to have a higher degree of damage output, but with less units making control as the Krallians. But if you go for Krallians having more bases, you're going to have less damage output, but a lot more units. And for the Titans, if the Titans take the larger majority of the larger majority of the bases, you're going to see a lot of plasma tank play, and those plasma tanks are going to be able to have to hold choke points, while the Krallian player uses his cheaper units to do the main bulk of the offense. But if the Krallian player goes for the extra share of the bases, then the Titan player is going to have to come up with smaller, is mostly going to have to rely on speeder plays to be able to speeder plays and mechas, while a Krallian is going to be doing the bulk of the air units. So it's going to be interesting to see from that standpoint. I think because the Krallians have the air support, the center is going to be a little bit more difficult to control with a higher degree of air presence. I think Eclipses are going to have a much higher degree of value in this game. We did see Eclipses come up in the last game, but they didn't get the opportunity to get their shots against the helicopters since those Marauders really made short work of them. But I don't know if you're going to see quite the same opportunity in this game. There aren't going to be as many Marauders running around the map, so I think Eclipses are going to be a much more viable option. We'll have to just see and wait what these strategies to unfold, but I think that about gets the gist of it for now. On the top right side, as the Yellow Krallians for Team Beer Powered, it's Exploit. And his teammate playing on the bottom right-hand side as the Red Titans, it's Bronco76. And of course, their opponents playing on the bottom left-hand side as the Black Sapiens for Team GD, it's the Grudge. And his teammate playing on the upper left-hand side as the Blue Krallians, it's Gout. Without any further ado, let's get this match started here. Let's go to round one. And now Gout going to be approaching with his first capture, taking a second capture as well. Is he going to go for a third? Looking like he's going to opt out of the third capture and going to give the larger share to the Sapien player instead. And now Exploit going to go for one capture, a second capture, and now he will be a third capture. So it will be a 4-base Krallian versus a 5-base Krallian. That could be a very interesting dynamic, and that might give Team Beer Power the advantage in the aerial wars. But the Sapien Krallian team just might get an advantage in mobility. And now the Grudge approaching with his captures, and he will go for the full 3 captures and take on 5 of those bases to Gout's 4. Opening with a Marauder and a Marine here. Not a bad decision. I like Marauder Marine opening on this map. It makes a lot of sense. There's so much room that you have to be able to cover at once. Marauders are the perfect tool for that right now. And now Swarmers coming out. Double Swarmers from Exploit. Bronco76 bringing a Plasma up at the top to try and secure the position while they bring their escort. And here comes the Speeder from Team Beer Powered as well, advancing forward a little bit. The Grudge now pushing that Marine a little bit forward to the center in the south. And now Gout trying to gain some control in the center, and a Garuda coming out from Gout as well to try and counter that Swarm Pincer combo in the center. More Underlings coming from the south as well. Gout now opening with a second Garuda as well here on round 3. Exploit now taking down the first kill of the game. 100 kill counts goes to Team Beer Powered. Exploit now going to try and take a 2-shot and a second 2-shot against that Garuda. Really nice 1-2 combo there in the center. That's going to be a lot of pressure. Bronco76 now pushing forward that Plasma Tank. The Plasma Tank will defend against the base, but it's going to need more to handle that helicopter. And of course, but there is a mecha behind it, and that actually might be enough to multiply the force. Speeder now from Bronco76 coming down, trying to chip away this Underling guarding Gout's base on the south position. The Grudge pushing forward with his Marine, and now the Marauder going to try and take this exposed Swarmer, getting a 5-shot, and then another 4-shot, and that Swarmer is now taken out of the combat initiative. The Grudge now pushing forward with these helicopters, trying to weaken down and eliminate that mecha before it can threaten a base capture at the top. Gout opting to go for a buried Ling there in order to maybe heal it and then get a surprise attack on the mecha. Meanwhile, Gout continuing to chip away at this mecha line at the bottom. That speeder is backed up by a full health underling, so it does have some pretty dangerous striking power. Another Garuda in the center, and now Exploit pulling back his Swarmer. Going to try and finish off this Marauder right away, and it looks like he has just enough. And Team Beer Powered picking up another 250 credit counts, bringing themselves a little further into the advantage. Team GD gonna have to be very careful here. There is a lot of pressure on that one base there. Only an underling to guard that central base, though. That might be very dangerous on the upcoming turn. Meanwhile, Bronco 76 porting out some mechas to try and guard that base from getting a capture. He does have it surrounded on a couple of sides, but there is no zone of control from those ported mechas, so they won't be able to hold the entire position, and an Eclipse to try and ward away some of those helicopters. Will it be enough? And now the Grudge moving in, going to try and take a strike against this, a 4-shot against that full health Ecliptor for a 6 health on the copter. And now with the +3, he's going to get a 5-shot, and the Eclipse is taken out of the equation. And now that's a very dangerous position. That Eclipse was necessary, and now there's nothing to really stop this force. The Grudge now continuing to eliminate the mech, gets the first kill on Team GD. GG now going to be able to eliminate that Eclipse on that base, and now that base is looking a little exposed. Here comes another kill from that Garuda, and here comes the base capture, and Team GD picking up a very dangerous base capture threat. That was a very inventive. That took a little thinking to really look through it, but they had just enough damage output to clear the way, and what a very dangerous. But meanwhile, Team Beer Powered here going to go for some very big heals, and it looks like they're opting to solidify their position rather than try and retake the base. That's probably a sensible position. They're a little bit behind. It looks like they are going to pull ahead in the credit kill counts as well. And this is what I was talking about. When the Crawlian player has the 5 base, he can work as the major damage mule, while the Titan player can kind of make more defensive pieces with situational pieces like the Eclipse coming to fill in the gaps. But Team Beer Power, they have a 200 credit advantage, but now it looks like they're going to lose that base, and they are going to find themselves in a very precarious position. Real quickly, the Grudge now picking up some more kills, evening the kill count here with that helicopter. And these helicopters taking advantage of the fact that underlings have no air damage, trying to pick away and weaken these underlings as much as possible. Continuing his assault against the underling on that position, trying to threaten another possible base capture here. But it looks like the Grudge falling short of, just short of the necessary damage to expose the base, and opting to go for a heal instead. Gout now continuing to pump out more Garudas and underlings, trying to increase their force in the center as much as possible. Getting a nice heal on that center, bringing it back up to a 7 health Garuda. And now Exploit immediately going to be moving over. There's a lot of pressure on that exposed southern base. If that Garuda goes down from Gout, it could be very, very dangerous. And there is a threatened base capture. And here, down goes the Garuda. And is he going to be able to get it? But no, not enough units able to get the cap. And the cap is missed, unfortunately. But Exploit, in the meantime, able to get a decent credit kill advantage. And now another underling is going to go down. And now Exploit doing a really, really good job of using the fact that he had a lot of bases to try and do as much damage as possible. He's really trying to maximize his damage at this point. And it's really the best strategy. If you're going to be a base behind, make sure that your gap is heavy enough. He's got about a 550, they got a 550 advantage right now. So Team GD does have the extra base, but Team Beer Powered is just enough ahead in the kill count advantage that if they can use that kill count advantage and keep that material advantage going. Look, there's another 100 right there from Bronco 76. If they can keep that gap going, they might be able to open some positions on weakened bases and pick up a base capture of their own. They have a window of opportunity to do that right now. Meanwhile, the Grudge going to be picking up a nice Garuda count kill right there with the copter. Continuing to melt away some of these mechas. They will definitely want to make sure that those bases are not left exposed, especially that's central base from Gout that's got that Pinzer on top of it. The Grudge pumping out some more Marines to deal with this Air Force from Exploit. And now Gout going to try and counter some of these attacks from these Garudas. Going to be able to pick up another Garuda count. And now Team GD starting to evening up this credit kill count here. Positionally, those helicopters surrounded by that engineer. If that engineer lets all those helicopters get that heal off from DeGrudge, suddenly the advantage in this game is going to swing incredibly heavily to GD. So Team Beer Powered here has to make something happen this round before those heals can get off. It looks like he might have just enough to get the cap here. Is the cap going to go off? Down goes the underling, and now the Pins are finally able to make the cap. The Pinzer is a solid cap, but he's only at a 6 health, so he's not necessarily the strongest cap yet. But he might be enough to hang on and let an underling get onto the position. But can they hold it for 2 more rounds? Bronco 76 now pumping out another unit, and here comes the Eclipse picking up a Garuda count. And this is an incredible game. I am really impressed. Team Beer Power doing such a good job of maintaining the lead and using that material, that temporary material advantage to try and gain a base cost ability. And now here come the ports to block the Marine from making his approach. I love that port. That's exactly why the Titan player is going to be very powerful in combination, and that's a strong threat here. Team DeGrudge now moving back that engineer, going to get those heals off. These copters are not going to be able to add damage just yet, so they're still a turn behind. And now DeGrudge going to try and whittle away on these ported in mechas instead of focusing on the Pinzer. I like that. That's a good decision. Don't hit the Pinzer just yet. Wait till the underling. They can't bring the underling now, because if the underling goes onto that position, he's going to get hit just enough times to be taken off. So now it's up to Team Beer Power to solidify their approach a little bit more before they make the base capture. So I like leaving the helicopter there as a threatening piece. Meanwhile, Gout continuing to pump more underlings and bring harassment to the northeastern side, and that's exactly the sort of thing Gout has to do right now. If you've got the extra base, then excellent. Start doing harassment in other areas. Don't focus on the center. Let the Grudge handle that, and you do harassment elsewhere so that it's difficult for Beer Power to focus only on the center. And now Exploit going to be trying to hammer away on this this offensive line. He gets a 2-shot on the Marine, and is that Marine going to be able to stay up? He's getting a 5-shot, and it looks like that Marine will get down. The helicopter also has been weakened to a 4 health, so suddenly this base position is getting very strong, and now Beer Powered Exploit opting to keep that Pinzer on there and go for the +2 heal right now, deciding it's not quite ready to make the approach with the underling just yet. They'll have to wait another turn. Meanwhile, Exploit pumping out more Garudas here to try and add some attack power. Bronco 76 continues his approach with that plasma cannon at the top, and that plasma cannon has been a constant thorn in DeGrudge's side. It's always been a threatening piece. If that plasma cannon gets a base cap up on that position, it could be disastrous. Bronco 76 continuing to port more mechas, doing everything he can to keep that Marauder from being able to add 2 shots. 1 shot from the Marauder I think they can handle, but 2 shots from that Marauder in the center could be deadly. And now DeGrudge clearing away one of the ported mechas, getting a 1-shot off on the Pinzer, bringing in the other full health, and now finally these helicopters that were pulled back to heal can start adding their damage, and this is where things start getting really dangerous for Exploit. That Pinzer is being weakened down to a 2 health. Here comes the Engineer to also make his approach, and the Marauder is going to get both the shots off. It should be just enough, and down it goes, and the base capture threat will be prevented for now. The Grudge continuing to exploit, and now we're going to see Team G skyrocket into their position, and I think the window of opportunity for Team Beer Powered has kind of closed. That was their shot. They put all their eggs in the basket of making that base capture, and if that base capture falls short, now it's just a matter of time, because they kind of sacrificed their lead to get a good position, and the position just didn't hold. I think they should have gone. We'll talk more about it in the post-game review, but I think the question was, do they go for the capture then, or was it good to wait another turn? We'll talk about that more later. Meanwhile, Exploit continued to get heals off. Out comes the Infestor. The Infestor, a really good decision out right now. I love the Infestor decision. It's exactly what he needs. As long as he can keep it well enough protected, it's going to get it's just the heals it can get off 1 round pay for it right away. Exploit continuing to bring in this Swarmer and Garuda combo. Bronco 76 now finally making his approach, and down goes the last Marine on that position, and now he's going to go in for the warp-in, warping back that Eclipse to try and threaten any helicopters that want to make an approach on the Air Force. Bronco 76 continuing to threaten a base capture approach onto that one position there, porting in more mechas into the center to try and keep. They're going for a last man stand in the center, and it looks like it's going to come down to one big fight, and whoever is left with a higher credit kill count is going to be the victor. And now DeGrudge, and that's most likely going to be GD with the extra credit base. They've had a lot of turns with an extra base now. DeGrudge now taking down, is that it looks like that Garuda will go down, and Team GD picking up another 350, pushing them 400 credits into the advantage. Another mecha coming down from those Marines, and now those Marauders are going to show their true strength in the center. When it's one thing to have Marauders when you're at an even credit advantage, but when you're already up a couple hundred, and you have those Marauders to dart in and do one-shot, two-shot, those double shots, they become exponentially more powerful. And now DeGrudge using his tank, getting his tank in a very nice position on that healing tile as well. That tank is going to be extremely hard to push from that position now. DeGrudge bringing out another engineer and getting a lot of big heals, and I think the healers have been the real heroes of this game. That engineer that came up first, he's managed to peel away some ported mechas. He's managed to get big heals off on the helicopters. Gout now pumping out more swarmers, bringing an approach with this Pinzer, and this game is starting to come to a fast close. Team GD maintaining a very strong lead here. Underlings and Infestors being pumped out here just to maintain their position and advantage as they focus on other base areas. Exploit now going to try and weaken this, at least get a couple weakens. He wants to reduce the swarmer count in the bottom. If he can, maybe they can pick away the swarmers or distract them just enough to get to that position. I don't know. I think a pullback might be a better idea, but then they have to sacrifice the base to do it, and then it's absolutely game over. Even more than it already looks now. Exploit getting some heals off on his underlings. Continue to pump underlings out here. And now the name of the game is just how many units can I have just as placeholders to make sure that you don't get base captures while I'm focusing in the center. Bronco 76 going to try and take down this tank, but there's just... I think he's lacking some of the firepower he needs, and instead opting to use his third mecha to get a 5-shot on the underling there. And a speeder does come out at the top. Bronco 76 putting a few eggs in the basket of Nate. He's been trying to pick away that base position the whole game, and DeGrudge has been done a very good job of making sure that the north position is secure, but also at the same time, while he's kept it secure, he really hasn't pumped that many resources. If you remember in the previous game with the New Earth Chaitan, one of the reasons Chaitan had such a difficulty against New Earth was that Chaitan had to pump in every other round. They would pump 500 credits into a plasma tank at the southern position just to make sure that extreme position wasn't overrun. And DeGrudge has done the same job for like a third of the number of resources necessary. DeGrudge now continuing to chip away at the center. We've got 45 over 2,600. Now it's just a matter of doing cleanup, picking away underlings, opting to just try and focus fire down all the underlings. The underlings are the more dangerous units right now than a 2-health swarmer. Gout also doing some cleanup as well, making sure that these underlings are isolated from the rest of the units. And Team GD, now what they're doing is, before it was about amassing a bigger army, they're also doing a really good job of isolating units from Team Beer Powered away from the main force. Because if there's one thing that Beer Powered can't afford to do right now, it's have isolated units. They need every unit in one concentric area where they can have a similar strike zone and be more dangerous. The problem is these bases are so spread out that if you're already at a disadvantage in the credits, it's almost impossible to pull a true defensive retreat. This isn't a turtling map, this is an aggression map. So when you start to lose a major credit advantage, especially if you lose a base that's been going on for 7 turns, it really more like 6 turns, it really becomes a handicap that you can't adapt to anymore. And Team Exploit trying to focus out a little bit more damage, bring themselves up to 2,000 under. Bronco 76 trying to desperately pour in some mechas and contain that southern base. I will give this to Team Beer Powered. They've had a lot of credits thrown to them at this southern position, and they have managed to keep that exposed base from ever getting a single cap. So hats off to them for that. They have definitely done a very good... I love that the fact that as they've been sacrificing units, but they don't give up extra base caps yet. Like they did give up that one base cap, and that base cap that Team GD managed to pull was pretty complex. That was not an easy position to find. And now DeGrudge, if he gets away this Garuda, that's gonna reduce a lot of control in the center. These helicopters now, they're just so powerful when they can outmaneuver you, especially when you have some extra, Mecha 2s, that you've captured, and you can use them as extra force multipliers. And the engineers here, the double engineers are just going to make it so that it's impossible. Even if you could get good damage on this army now, that damage isn't going to stick when you're fighting an army that's double engineer, especially when you're down in your unit count as it is. Gout now picking off another Garuda, continue to make his approach, and it looks like they're going to try and take a shot at this position right away. No, there isn't enough units to make the cap now, but another Garuda is going to go down, and once again, GD pulling really heavy out to the advantage here. And Gout now pushing up that Infestor for some quick heals next turn. Also trying to harass against this Southern Garuda. And also getting a free shot against that Porta Mecha as well, a 5-shot. That's quite a bit of damage. Pulling in a couple of nice heals. And now Exploit going to try and reduce... If he can if you can kill the underlings, you can make it take longer to take away your credit count. You can get a base cap, but you can't get a base capture unless you have the underlings. So if they can focus fire down the underlings, they can make it difficult to make the capture. Infestor from Exploit moving forth a little bit to try and threaten a plague on any encroaching copters. And Bronco 76 trying to use that speeder distance and going to use that Eclipse to try and focus fire down a few units. And that's actually a big turn for them. They brought it up to 5950. You know, they brought themselves from over 3,000 credits to maybe under 2,000. So that was a pretty decent turn. Now you actually put some decent damage output. The problem is that these engineers and infestors are just going to make it so easy for Degrudge and Gout to come back from any injuries. And now this 7 health tank at the north is going to come out firing and getting big shots. And those double tanks are going to make mincemeat out of that Speeder Eclipse combo up north. A lot of captured mechas here. Those ported mechas, they were a great idea when you're trying to go for a base capture. But if you don't make the capture, suddenly it's going to backfire on you very quickly. Case in point, these Mecha 2s, they do a lot of damage. And now the Marauder are going to come in for the cleanup. And now Team GD picking themselves up to 6,400. And are they going to get this this final Garuda? It looks like they will, and here comes the base cap. Is the helicopter? No, the helicopter is going to opt to pull back instead. And now Degrudge is going to finally finish up this line down south. Round 12 here. It looks like Team Exploit going to be able to push it back at least a few more rounds, though. Team GD is definitely in the winning position. But, I mean, realistically, how many turns, how few turns is it going to take for them to make this capture? And now Gout continue to bring down the Garuda, pick up a 5-shot against that Eclipse, and that Eclipse is not long for this world. And down it goes. Picking up +2 health on that Pinzer. More Garudas being pumped up in that position. And I think one thing that I haven't mentioned enough is the way that one captured base that Gout does have right now has allowed him to basically bring units into a strategic position. Any unit that he wants that can have strategic value in the center gets extra strategic value by being on the enemy side right away. So it makes it so that you don't have to wait at all for reinforcements to show up. And I think that's part of the reason why they made it so difficult for Beer Powered to kind of have a concerted effort on both sides. Exploit now trying to push back this underling push. Bronco 76 bringing his speeder down, not wanting to engage those 2 tanks just yet. It won't work with those units right now. This one Eclipse in the center has been doing a very good job of efficiently getting shots against those helicopters and Garudas. And here comes the base cap from Degrudge on that position, and that position will not be able to, that base will not be, I don't see Team Beer Power taking that base back anytime soon. Here comes the helicopter approaching on that Garuda, and that Garuda is going to be taken down to a 5 health. Is that Garuda going to be able to last this turn? I don't know if he has the reach. That other Garuda, the 7 health Garuda, might be able to provide enough zone of control that I don't know if the Degrudge can get a shot. Instead, the Degrudge is going to focus fire down on this Eclipse instead. Eclipse down to a 6 health. 3 health, bringing it down to a 3 health. And then Marauder should be just enough to clean it up with the 7 health. Nope, bring it to a 1, and that Eclipse is brought down to a 1 health, but it will not be able to contribute any damage against these copters anymore. And now the 3 health copter will be able to clean it up. And Team GD bringing themselves up to 7650 over 4550. Here we are on round 13, and now we are pushing ourselves to round 14. Gout going to be bringing down that 1 Garuda, getting the cap with the other Pinzer, and this could be it, folks. If we see a double base capture, you're going to see these bases start to fall like dominoes. Gout now making up his underling, going to be able to get to the full health underling. These underlings finally starting to make a fairly successful approach to that yellow southern base. More Pinzers being brought out by Gout, and that's exactly what I was saying. You see how he can bring that Pinzer onto the enemy side? how long would it take that pincer to get from your ally side to the enemy side? It would take at least 3 turns with that captured base. And there's the GG. Gout going to be able, Team GD pulling a really fantastic victory. Wow. This was an extremely exciting game. It just had such a swashbuckling nature to it. There was the first early base capture, and then using your material advantage to try and eliminate their own base capture. I really enjoyed this game. This is easily one of the best team games I have ever casted. We'll have to take a closer look here in our post-game analysis. And then now looking into our post-game analysis, the few key turns that I really wanted to talk about here, there was a lot going on in this game. And I think the most fun I had was watching this base capture on turn 5. What a fantastic play. If we take a look here. So, Team Gout, they see an opportunity. They've managed to, I think the key was, the Grudge did something that I see a lot of Sapien players not willing to do, which is sacrifice the helicopter health of 2 full health helicopters in order to whittle down 1 Eclipse. And maybe that seems off the bat like not the best idea, but here there's a real art to it, because if you see, there's a 4 health ported deactivated mecha here, and this Eclipse, and that's all that's really keeping this base from getting the capture. This Underling is just enough in the position where he can get to it. So all you have really standing in your way are these 2 units. And I think Team GD managed to do a great job of putting themselves in that position. Up comes the helicopter. Let me get the centering off here. If we look, that one Garuda comes in and focuses out that Eclipse. Then we see the other Garuda come in and take out that ported mecha, and they clear the way. And not only do they clear the way, they do a great job of clearing the way and having units work as blockers in each direction. The units on the top here are blocked by this Garuda. This Garuda is blocked by this helicopter. This Underling and this Garuda are blocked by this Garuda, and then these 3 units protecting the base. It's such a fantastic capture. There was a lot of elegance to it, but the thing that I think GD had to sacrifice for it was position. They made this capture at a point where they were 150 up, so it might have seemed like they had the better position, but if you move on into round 6, Beer Powered is able to even things up. Here, let's skip ahead a little bit. I just want to move on. And so they're able. This base is where the position is left a little off the wall. You also see in the south, I mean, they only have this Underling and Marines, and there are a couple of forces here. But what I think Team Beer Power did a great job of seeing was realizing how weakened this position was. Yeah, this position it was left in an area where these units were able to make a very effective approach on it. These swarmers do a good job of setting up the damage against the Garuda, and then just doing such good gang up control, weakening the base, and then bringing up the count. And I think the real key here for Team Beer Powered was that they weakened the base position, and they realized, yeah, we're down a base, and yeah, we'll lose in a war of attrition now. But if we can keep an advantage going each turn in terms of material, and at the same time have blockers in both directions on the base, when we make our approach, there we can set up a position where even if they have a base advantage, we have a positional material advantage that allows us to take the base without repercussion. And suddenly it's an even game again, and now we've got an equal footing. And I think they did a great job they came very, very close to fulfilling that goal here in round 6, here in round 7, where they actually make the cap. And I think they did a job, because Gout wasn't really able to be in a position where he could put a Pinzer on this base, or even a Garuda on this base, because he needed to have the Swarmer here to prevent the capture. He needed to have an extra Underling here to prevent the base cap, and so the only thing left for him to spend on is an Underling, and that's all he could use in order to keep this base position. And that is where position comes into handy for Team Exploit. By forcing Gout to spread himself a little thin, he has to use a lot of resources just to hold on to what their games was. And that allowed Team Exploit to have more specialized units,
because the Crawlian player was on 5 base, and now he's only on 4 base. With 400 credits per unit, you can still pump out a Garuda each round. You can pump out a Swarmer and an Underling each round. And Exploit did a really good job of taking advantage of that. And that's how he was able to put together a better focus. And the last thing I want to talk about is this choice for the Engineer. The Engineer is what saved the game for Team GD. GD were in, I'd say right now, even though GD has the extra base, they're actually in about an even position. We've got material advantage, you've got base advantage. But with this Engineer, it tips the scales in their favor. If even one of these helicopters goes out, then Team Exploit can keep the status quo for at least another round. But by keep pushing back the helicopters, keeping this Marine to block it from the Garudas, keeping this Marine Garuda as blockers from these 2 Garudas, which is critical, these 2 helicopters are given just enough time to get their full heal off, bringing this one up to an 8 health and this one up to a 7 health. And you'll see later in the game, I think it was like on round 9, where once these helicopters, now here on round 8, Exploit has the base capture, but look, there are these 2 8 and 9 health copters up at the top. And the problem is that Exploit really is in a position, if he moves it up here, this copter can still get a free hit on the Underling for the capture, and then this Marine or this Marauder, they can't block both of them, even with this ported mecha, because you have this Underling and this Marine, which can focus fire down the mecha, and then one of these 3 spots will be left open for a second shot against the Underling, and the base can't be captured. And that is where the game was, I think, essentially lost, was right on that one pivotal. I think if this Pinzer had been at a 9 health, or even maybe an 8 health, I think it got, no, at a 10 health. I think at like a 9 or 10 health, boom, different game, and I think that could have been a successful base capture. But the problem is, and I think the other decision was deciding to keep this copter at this position so that it can be guaranteed a free shot against the Underling was the other point. So, what a great game. This was a deceptively close game. At first glance, it might seem that Team GD had the control, but the truth is that anyone could have taken this game up until, I think, at least round 9 or 10, when this base capture threat was finally pushed away. So what a great game from both competitors. It looks like it is going to be Team GD moving on into the finals for the Risky Business 2v2 Grand Final Series, and they will be facing off their opponents, Team New Earth. I can't wait to see it. Don't forget to go check it out. In the meantime, don't forget to go and check out the UniWarriors $1,000 solo tournament, which has just had I just completed casting all the games for that series. You can also go watch Legia's new video, which he did a great job covering the new Naisuka Belt 2v2 challenge between teams. I believe it's also Team GD versus Awesome +1. Really fantastic match. Make sure you guys go check it all out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until then, this is EnnuiGoblin signing off.